right, Lindsey, what's in your lens?
I think you're going to love this one today. We're talking about the woke right. So there's a term floating around right now. Like I just said, the woke right. And if you haven't heard it before, you're about to. So it's being used to describe conservatives who are suddenly embracing the very tactics they've spent years mocking. I mean, moral shaming, loyalty tests, and cancel culture style pile-ons. Now, James Lindsey, who's a writer that actually used to work with Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, coined the phrase a long time ago. He warned that if conservatives keep moving in this direction, they'd be walking down a self-destructive path. Well, here we are. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, the calls for retribution against anyone who dares criticize him have been deafening. Some conservatives want people fired. Some people want publicly shamed, even prosecuted. And here's the irony. Charlie Kirk built his entire career as a warrior for free speech. Now, in his name, some of his closest allies are undermining the very thing that he fought for. Candace Owens put it this way.
Pam Bondi, who is a complete loser and a tool, is trying to use the assassination of Charlie Kirk to lay the groundwork for hate speech laws in America. The very thing that Charlie was fighting against. They all just got right to work.
And Tucker Carlson sounded the same alarm.
You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country.
Even Senator Ted Cruz called out FCC Chairman Brendan Carr's latest move against Jimmy Kimmel's show.
That's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. I like Brendan Carr, but we should not be in this business. We should denounce it.
And that was a terrible Italian accent, but it was a good point. Now, let me pause right here. Republicans are no strangers to holding each other accountable. They just look at how they spar about Epstein files or call out overcorrections inside their own party. Democrats could actually learn a thing or two from that playbook. But what I can't stomach is the selective outrage. Now, for years, MAGA conservatives decried censorship, rallying against so-called liberal cancel culture. But now, some of those same voices are playing the censorship card themselves. And the biggest hypocrite of them all might be our president, Donald Trump. Do y'all remember this moment from Inauguration Day?
After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
Or take Elon Musk, who in August of 2023 boldly tweeted, quote, "If you were unfairly treated by your employer due to posting or liking something on this platform, we will fund your entire legal bill, no limit. Please let us know." So which is it? Free speech for all or only free speech for people that you agree with? Because right now it looks like MAGA has gone from mocking cancel culture to manufacturing it on their own. If conservatives truly want to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy, they can't just weaponize grief to silence dissent. That's not protecting free speech. That's betraying it. Do better. If you believe in something, fight to make it a law for everyone, not just the people on your side. Otherwise, you're not defending freedom. You're just running your own version of cancel culture and just calling it something else.
Well, I agree with that point, obviously, Lindsey. I've talked about it a lot in my own work. I don't think everyone on the right is behaving this way. I mean, you showed multiple people. Ted Cruz in his...
But the voices are loud, but there's still not
Tucker
the mass.
Carlson,
There's still not the masses are still
These are
kind
some
of...
pretty loud voices.
I mean, the ones at the top are not the ones doing this. So you have Pam Bondi, President Trump, who doubled down on what Brendan Carr did with the FCC, saying, oh, we should pull licenses. And he said, I support Pam Bondi most recently. So it's like, his administration is not doing what the MAGA base wants. If you're saying that the overwhelming MAGA base is loud against this, because I've seen selective few senators and things speak up or podcasters, but not everyone. So if everyone as a whole is all against this, then why is leadership not following any of their lead in this then? Why is the president still calling for even more, for FCC to go even further and pull licenses? Why are we taking steps in the wrong direction?
Trump is not ideological. Trump is not He said it at the memorial that he believes in persecuting his enemies, that he was persecuted and now it's his turn. He is in charge now. And there's a broader idea on the right that we should not have to play by the rules that Democrats or the left or the liberals refuse to play by. That we would like to be principled about free speech and due process and a bunch of other things, but doing that gets us nowhere because Democrats are going to do whatever they can to win or seize power and harm us. So if we're fighting fair and they're fighting dirty, we should not be fighting fair. Now, my criticism of that way of thinking is, at present, the Republicans do have a lot of power and could be using that power to make, in this metaphor, the game more, or the rules of the game more inflexible and harder to break and bend by Democrats. For instance, if control of the government could make it so the FCC has less to say on political content in general, is less involved in, or that its mandate is narrower. They could abolish it outright. They could do a bunch of different things other than saying, now we are going to persecute Democratic speech in the same way that our speech was persecuted, which is just a recipe for Democrats
endless
to do
disaster.
even more next time. And then Republicans will say, well, Democrats are going to do even more next time anyway. And I say, okay, well then let's Democrat-proof the system. Let us blunt the instruments of our oppression so that they will not be used against us. That's my view of what Trump should be doing. Blunt the instruments of the oppressor.
Oh, the oppressor. Now the whole conservative party is oppressed. Okay. I just want to say, it looks like President Trump is on an overall silencing campaign. In the last few weeks, we've seen him sue the New York Times, and that get thrown away because it was too hard for even, a court to understand. It was like a lot of blah, blah, blah. What are you suing them for? Nobody understood. We saw him put somebody in place at CBS that's a former ambassador for him to review and be unbiased to make sure that the news is not swaying in any one direction. That's extremely biased, right? We see him defund
biased news.
and so we see him try to defund public broadcasting, which generally reports the facts, like PBS and NPR. So he's going on this tirade and campaign, and now he's saying, I'd like to pull funding and license. No, not funding. He wants to pull licenses from broadcast networks that have a negative depiction of me. This is ridiculous. At some point, you have to say it's going way beyond and way past what a president should be involved in, unless we want to have state-run media, right? Everything is not going to be
NPR is state
flowers and butterflies about President Trump. We're going to be like Russia in a second with propaganda all over our news if we only do things that President Trump likes. And so that's the path we're going down. And I know that conservatives don't want to go down that path. So I don't even understand why this is a conversation.
News has propaganda?
No, I don't think that we have Russia propaganda. I think people get it wrong and are supposed to make corrections if they're holding it by journalistic standards, which we see in every magazine and every newspaper. They'll put a little asterisk. And there's even a whole archive page that shows you the original article in case people try to play games and act like they didn't have the original context in the article. So I think we have plenty of checks and balances in our system and plenty of outlets like Newsmax, Fox, Reason that we all named to balance out if you do think that it's so right or left leaning.
Well, and speaking of that, one of the things I wanted to bring up on this subject that I was going to bring up in my radar, but we ran out of time. This is a perfectly good time to bring it up now. It feels almost quaint to me to be discussing the FCC saying what you can and cannot say, for broadcast television.
Quaint? What do you mean?
Most people are getting their news from YouTube and from TikTok and
Okay.
from there's an entire ecosystem of information delivery that is good for good reason outside the FCC's purview, where the vast majority of people are consuming news and information that way. So you're like, there's this little thing that's the old way. It's like they're aggressively regulating cave paintings when the word has been
now we know that,
which is a good thing.
Some
beyond
people,
the government oversight,
and some people get their information from social media. And just to put a button on that, Elon Musk is running Twitter and making it more conservative. Specifically, has his AI answering
making it more free,
conservative. No, he's changing the answers for Grok, and then TikTok is now going to be owned by Trump's friends, which I think is also ridiculous. So they are cornering every single information market and going to put naturally disinformation.
President Biden signed a law to have TikTok sold off to someone,
which I didn't think was a good idea. So here we are.
Guess who bought it?
Here we are. You're Trump's friends, and now it's a disaster.
Well, he shouldn't have done that.
Here we are. I think this whole thing is a disaster. The Trump administration is making a big change to H-1B visas, and critics say it will hurt the tech industry. We'll have more on that next. Stay with us.